That's good. Start by just hitting the microphone stand. That's how I do it. Hello. Welcome to Let's Make a List on KPCA LP 103.3 FM, online at kpca.fm. Each week, we choose a topic related to movies, music, video games, or books. Probably some other things too we'll think of. We make lists and discuss our picks. If you want to get involved, you can call in at any point during the show. It's 707-981-7577, or tweet us at Phil and Ariel. All right. So today, another special episode. It's post-Thanksgiving. It's pre-tomorrow. And we have a guest that everybody knows. Everybody knows this is
ever.
The amazing, the wonderful, my co-host and co-spouse, Ariel.
Thank you.
Hey.
For that introduction.
Yeah, I didn't say your full name because I know you're very personal.
Yes, I'm very personal.
You don't want people to know.
Yeah.
You're private is the word. But personal is what I said.
Yep. So, get up in my personal business.
Uh-huh. All right. So I have... Today, I'll briefly say what we are going to be... Our list is based on.
Mm-hmm.
Our list is based on acting performances. We each chose our 10 favorite slash... I'll say... Forget the favorite. Okay. I think the 10 best acting performances.
According to us. So our favorites.
Oh, that's fact.
Yeah.
I don't know why you say according to us.
Okay.
But the... I didn't just choose ones that were just like my favorite to see or hear, because we talked about before, there are lots of performances and characters I like in movies and shows, but I wouldn't say that they are the most impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk about this when we get to it. It'll be a big, beautiful mess. We'll all love it. All right, so... And we also have a little bit of a game of, I like to call...
Chance.
Yes. Chance?
Roulette.
Yep. We're going to play roulette on the radio. It's going to be fun. We brought a full Vegas-sized roulette table in here.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great. Yep. And we're going to... I call it, which one is it? That seems to be the game that I like to do, where I give you an option... Is it this or that or that? And
well, those are ones that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you've designed it very well.
Thank you.
For this person over here.
Yay! It's Ariel.
This guy.
All right. I want to say, everyone that was listening to Rob in the Free Range Radio Hour, thank you very much for sticking around listening to us on this day that is unfortunately kind of become a holiday.
Yeah,
Black Friday. So that kind of brings me to the first thing I want to talk about, which is a little bit...
Black Friday.
A little bit different than what we usually talk about.
Uh-oh. Politics.
Kind of. All right, this is the thing. Okay. This is something that pops in my mind a lot. I spend a lot of time reading about politics and things like that, just because I feel like I want to be... Ariel looks a little concerned right now. Where is Phil going? Ariel?
Yes. Phil.
I should tell you.
Uh-huh.
I got a tattoo of the Confederate flag across my face.
We're divorced.
Okay.
I didn't notice it until now, but it's over.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say is I spend a lot of time just because I want to be informed, like a lot of people do. And also it is interesting what's going on. Obviously, it's interesting in a way for me. And I want to know what's going on, and I want to... The things that I'm so upset about that I want to either find out that I'm wrong about certain things, so I'm not upset, or verify these things. So it's justified anger. Yeah. And I want to find people who agree or make arguments that I think are important. So I don't feel like there's nothing being done about it. You know what I mean? So the reason I'm bringing this up now is I got something in my throat. Excuse me. It's tough. All right, like this show, we talk about some of like things that I love in life. It's my favorite things.
Lists.
Yep.
Number one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I should do a show about other things I love, just about my family and friends. Just each week, I just rank my family and friends. That would be good. These are the things I love.
This person's doing better on the list. Last week was a bad
But
week.
I like all cats and dogs, but I have to say my favorite right now are Chloe and Aida. That's an inside comment for all you people who know us, aka all the listeners. But yeah, the reason I want to bring this up is because it is, for me, difficult sometimes to find the balance of like just spending my focus and interest and stuff on entertainment, video games, music, and things, because I do that a lot. But it's like there's always that part of me, not always, but a lot of times there's a part of me that feels like, oh, I should be spending my time doing these other things that are more important. And like a part of me going like, oh, if I do like before this show, I was going like, maybe it might be good to have a kind of, there are already shows like this on the station, but some like where I can talk about politics, current events, things like that. Just be like, I have strong opinions. It would be good to share them and to hear from other people. But many reasons I decided not to do that. One is,
I like that you counted the many reasons before you hit number one.
I don't feel informed enough to be able to do that. I'm informed as much as I, and okay, and there's not, I don't feel informed enough, and it's very depressing.
Yes.
And I feel like I wouldn't be able to, and I wouldn't have the time to accurately describe and show my perspective and why my opinions are the way they are, things like that. There's so many, obviously there's so many different factors that determine that. So yeah, I should have started this segment by saying I'm going to throw a lot of things out that might not seem related, but they are in my head. Let's see if we can tie them together. This is a good example of why I don't do a show about politics. The reason I want to talk about it is because I said that like 4 times already.
Right. What do you have for me?
It's tough to know, like these things, like the entertainment stuff, movies, music, are so important to me. It's kind of like, oh, you do all this other stuff so you can enjoy these things. So that's why it feels so important. But it's weird how there's this, I don't know where I want this conversation to go, but it's kind of like, it's really difficult sometimes for me to find the balance and feel like kind of justified that I'm spending time doing that.
It's very easy. I can give you a reason why you enjoy entertainment and think about it so much. It's because anybody, sorry to peel the onion here, but like anybody who experiences unhappiness or depression or any kind of struggle that's mental or emotional or anything, you feel like you need a protective place to go, and that's what entertainment does, regardless of whether or not it's reading or it's music or it's film or TV. And that's a big thing that a lot of people struggle with, and that's another reason why entertainment is so huge in the world right now, is because in America, in Asia, people are being required to work so much of their life, and so you kind of need a haven, and what better haven than a fictional world that you can just completely wash away everything that you're having to deal with and struggle with. And that's why binge watching is so effective psychologically, is because you just delve into a completely different life. And so it makes perfect sense why anybody would focus on entertainment so much. And we also grew up in the time that, like, the way that you consume entertainment has changed. That was during our formative time. So it's just part of us and our culture. That's a good point. Very true. So it's a legitimate thing. Yeah. And I commend you for ever reading up on politics and trying to be active and trying to be aware, because that's something that all of us should be doing. And I don't think that you need to justify where you dedicate your time, because in the world as it is now, it's not black and white. There's a million shades of gray and what we can be focusing on.
50 Shades Grey movies. No, thank you very much.
I said that and I went, regret.
No. Thank you. Maybe I just started talking about this because I wanted to
validation.
Yeah, exactly. Which is very possible. Also, just to say, the reason I do this show is because not just because like, oh, it's fluff. It's this stuff is important. It's entertainment.
This is a huge
and things
facet
it's
of
art
your
and it's,
of your life. This is a big thing that you think about.
And not to say this stuff is more important than like, feeding people and stopping wars and stuff like that, but it's from my place in this world, I feel like it's something that I can
it's refuge.
Yeah.
It's safety.
Yeah.
It's creativity. It's something that makes you feel alive. It's something that wakes something like a passion, And I mean, not everybody can be someone who has a passion like Mozart, where if you're not creating music, you die. But like sometimes it's being the person on the other end of the creation and absorbing it. And that just like makes your brain fire off a bunch of signals. Yeah. Cool. So what was what else do you want to talk about?
Thank you. This is I think the beginning of my show is becoming like the beginning of like Mark Maron's, where I'm just gonna
unload.
Yeah,
it's like a therapy session.
I don't know. I hope you didn't mind me talking about that.
I'm real angry about it. I'm smiling, but there's a lot of rage in me.
It's something that goes through my head a lot, where I go like, oh, I should be doing something else, and then later I go like, no, this is good.
No, I think about that because considering right now, like I went to art school. I'm going back to school for theater, and it's like there's so many horrible things happening in the world locally and globally. And I do think to myself like, oh my God, why am I beating myself up because I'm trying to learn a stitch and I can't master it? And then I go, oh, because I'm trying to provide a place for people to come to amplify their voices when they're performing a show or performing anything that has a message. And that message could be hidden in like a fantasy world, but the message could be true to what's happening to the world now. And like, if you let the arts die, then you let a very important part of humanity die.
Right.
And so this isn't the penultimate most important thing in the world, but arts, language, the creative side of mankind is incredibly important to preserve. And I feel like there are a lot of people out there that want to kill that. And anybody who puts effort into it, it's also something that brings out humanity in people, because with art, with entertainment, you can confront them and make them question and have conversations like this one.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about this with you some, because I always enjoy those conversations, and I get some out of it. It's true. I wanted to share our private life with the world. On a show about making lists.
Listing.
Yeah. But you see, it's okay. So I hope that didn't seem too unrelated to the show.
Huh?
Yeah. I think also I just wanted to hear myself talk a lot. I know
you do. You've got a good voice. It's good to listen to.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And what voice is this? This is Phil on Let's Make a List. And Ariel on Let's Make a List.
Yeah. I'm not actually a real person. Phil voices the both of us.
It's true. All right. Should we list it up?
Let's get down to
business. All right.
Business.
Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us. Now you can take out your pens and papers and pens and pencils
make
and
your own list.
Tablets and, make notes and then send us the notes and tell us why we are always right.
It's the only reaction we will accept.
So we did top 10 in order favorite acting performances in TVs and movie.
Yeah.
So this isn't necessarily like my favorite actors necessarily.
It's really the character that they're performing.
Yes.
Or a specific performance that made us really focus.
Yeah. These are ones that stuck out, and a lot of it that there has to be a good character. It has to be filmed well, has to be written well. So there's a lot that goes into it. But these are my choices, and these are your choices.
And I'm going to contribute.
All right, so number 10. Would you like to go first?
Okay, so my number 10 is the spot that I put for what is tickling my toes right now.
Oh,
so it's a transitive. That's not the right word, but it's something that transitions here and there. because my number 10 might be different in a month. Who knows?
As long as it's the same as mine, then we're good.
That's where you should have sound effects. Is for the awkward Ariel moments.
I don't have my sound effect machine plugged in, aka my computer.
Okay.
Oh, keep talking. I'm going to see what my computer's named, by the way.
Okay, so my number 10 is from Stranger Things, David Harbour, who plays Jim Hopper, who is just it's a character that's a lot of fun to watch. I just really enjoy him. He just like redeems himself from being this super depressed guy who does not take his job seriously, doesn't care because he's a sheriff in a small town, and then he really starts to see that something horrible's going on. Spoilers. And I just love every single time that he's like confronted with this like James Bond moment where he's supposed to do something that breaks the social contract, like breaking into a place or knocking somebody out, and he has this like sort of apologetic look on his face, like he's having this internal conversation of like, am I? Yeah, I'm gonna do this. He does it, and like the scene in the first season where he tears apart his house is maybe one of my favorite scenes.
Oh yeah.
It makes me laugh, and it shouldn't. I don't think it's meant to.
I think it is. I think it's supposed to be kind of funny. I feel like his character, there's a lot of subtle humor in it.
Yeah,
and there's he does such a good job of like how can I say this? How can I say it without? Okay, never mind. No, I guess just subtle humor is the way to go, where it doesn't seem like he's trying to be funny at all.
No, and he's not a caricature. He feels like a guy who works in a small town and is a sheriff, and he's just like really upset that there's all this stuff happening that he doesn't know about, and he doesn't quite know how to deal with it.
Yeah, and
he does deal with it.
Yep, and that he's able to portray a bunch of emotions without changing how the character acts much. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're
he
little
uses
things
his
that
eyebrows
really
and his like grumpy face, and that's another thing is that I love grumpy characters.
Yeah,
like grumpy is one of my favorite things.
So
thank you. Long explanation. What's yours?
Steve Carell from The Office. It's Michael Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I think comedic actors don't often get the credit they deserve.
They don't.
And I think he in that show is his, again, I mean, he just word a lot, but just range is just amazing. Like he's able to make you like tear up and just like feel so emotional, and then is able to make you laugh out loud immediately. Just the faces he makes he's a really goofy character, but it still is grounded in reality. And you look into it sounds so dumb, but you look into his eyes when he's acting, and it's just like, you could just see him trying to figure out things in his head, like the character, and that kind of childlike, naivete, is that the word?
Yes, it is.
Is pretty great.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I can't say very much more on that because he's also on the list.
Ooh.
I know. So
All
we
right.
just have to wait.
I'll just say the exact same thing again with the same pauses when we get there.
All right.
All right. What's your number 9?
All right. So my number 9 is Christopher Eccleston from Doctor Who.
That is the Doctor that is... Was that the first Doctor when they started
for the New
again?
Who? Mm-hmm.
Okay, New
He
Who.
was. New Who. Yeah, I thought that he was the perfect actor to reintroduce people to the show. And I say that having seen 2 minutes of one of the original show episodes. Right. But I loved him as the Doctor. I thought that he was amazing. And if he had stuck around longer, he potentially would have been my favorite. But because he was just there for a season, he is not
only
my
1 year.
favorite
Okay.
Doctor. Yeah, he was just there for one season.
Do you know if he was in like the UK or in the US really well known before that role?
I think that he was definitely known in the UK.
Okay.
Because
like
he's done a lot
I'm
of
not
period
sure. Okay.
movies, and so I knew him before I saw that. I knew a lot of his movies before then, and I think that he's just a very good actor. And I think that he was really, really good to be the first Doctor in this lineup because he could express the range of the character of Doctor Who, because a lot of people just kind of shrug it off as like a children's show, but it's so much more than that. And like the mythology of it is just this very, very, very complicated being. And you could see that he enjoyed that, and he was a darker side of that character who could still have a lot of fun and make his eyes really big and yell fantastic and run around a lot to a bunch of kind of music. And like I really enjoyed him.
With Doctor Who, because the older show, like back in, was it 70s, 60s?
Both.
Something like that. Yeah, was it? Is this 80s? A continuation of the story, same story? Like,
oh yeah,
like
it's all in the same.
Okay, it's not a re.
No, it's a reboot, but without disregarding anything that came before.
It's not a remake.
I think the only thing that it doesn't. Actually, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like it kind of ignores one Doctor who was in like a movie in the 80s.
Okay.
I think that they kind of try to downplay that as much as possible because it didn't go over very well. But yeah. What's yours?
That's a good choice. My number 9 is somebody who, I'm just going to say it, Channing Tatum's character in Foxcatcher.
Nice.
I liked the movie. I didn't love it like a lot of people. I really liked it. And Steve Carell and Mark Ruffalo got a lot of like award season buzz and stuff like that. Rightfully so, they're good. But Channing Tatum, I feel like deserved that kind of attention for it.
Yeah.
That character, again, subtle and with he just moments of rage that felt so real. And because I've only seen Channing Tatum pretty much in comedies. I haven't I don't even think I've seen any like action movies with him or anything like that. I've never seen any of the dance Step Up movies, that ones he did.
Step Up. Yeah. He was in Step Up.
Yeah, I was really impressed because he's the main character. Philip pretty much follows him the whole time, pretty much. And yeah, again, that's subtle, grounded, just you feel for the character so much. Yeah, that's my choice, number 9.
Nice. I applaud you.
Thank you.
All right, so number 8?
Yes.
My number 8 is Steve Carell from The Office.
Hey, good choice.
He was just perfect.
Yep.
He was so oily and disgusting and awful in the first season, and then he became one of the most familiar characters, I feel like, on TV. And I loved him.
So likable and embarrassing and unlikable.
Yeah,
at the same time.
and it was like so painful to watch him grow and to evolve. And then by the time that Steve Carell left the show, you were like, how? Why?
Yeah.
No, take us with you.
Yeah.
Like it was just, he had a lot of heart that he put into a very, very empty character that played by somebody else could have just been awful. You would have dreaded every time he was on screen. But instead, you actually like were looking forward to like, oh my God, what trouble is it going to get into? Yeah. And so loved him.
I agree. All right, number 8.
Okay.
Andrew Garfield in his character. I don't know a lot of the characters' names. 99 Homes. That was a tough movie to watch. It was great, but it was tough as in depressing because it seems to be based on things that have happened to many people.
Tough.
And again, he just felt like such an actual person in that one. And again, the range of emotions and the way you just immediately his character, you feel sorry for him without feeling like any kind of like, you don't feel pity or you don't feel like you don't, they're able to, you feel for him immediately just because the way he acts. I realize I don't have a great vocabulary when it comes to describing actors, but it's mostly just I think people should see these. The first time I saw him act, I think it was in the Social Network, the Facebook movie, and he was by far the best part. I thought one scene where his character gets really upset and kind of loses it. Yeah, and it was that's the scene that sticks in my head.
I'm going to disagree with you on the best character in that movie.
Oh, what character?
The music.
Oh, I do like the music.
The best part of the whole movie.
Yeah. That movie was all right.
It's kind of the music in that movie was the way that New York is in Sex and the City. It's the 5th character.
Sex and the City, did they pretty much only show like the upper scale kind of expensive New York? Did they show like truly what New York is like, do you think?
I doubt that they actually showed what it's really like. It got more and more ridiculous, I think, as it got on. Right. But I'm pretty sure that everybody in that show ever lived a life that very few people actually live. Okay. Even if they were considered rustic, if they owned property in the state of New York, that's not a life that most people live. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Andrew Garfield is one of my favorite actors. He never disappoints for me. I thought he was great as Spider-Man. I thought the movie was fine. I thought he was great in that. Was it Red Riding? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great in those.
Those were real good. People should look those up.
I have not seen that Mel Gibson war one that he was in recently for a few reasons.
Mel Gibson is one.
Yeah, and also it seems to I like the idea of someone going, I'm morally against fighting, but to me it seemed like it was. They said, I don't see. This is my problem. I can't describe myself well enough, and I don't have time to describe.
Well, the subject of pacifism is really, really difficult because there are moral arguments to any display of it. Yeah, really is like, and there's always what you're displaying against and how you do it. Yeah, can later kind of bite you in the ass. Yep. So it's in the bum. Yep. Excuse me. And so it's a complicated subject, so it's fair that you wouldn't really have enough time to just like run through it in 2 seconds. Yep. All right, so number 7 is what we're on.
Yes.
Where's my number 7? Okay. Whoopi Goldberg in The Color Purple. Boy, oh boy.
She is one of those actors that because I grew up watching her Next Generation and seeing like Jumping Jack Flash and some other movies, and she was always good. And it was one of those where it was like I didn't realize she was a comedian at first. I was like thought she was a dramatic actor, and then she's good.
Yeah, I had never seen Jumping Jack Flash. I didn't really watch Star Trek growing up. I didn't watch Star Trek growing up. I did see Ghost. I was familiar with her in Sister Act.
Oh, yeah.
That was my business.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I loved that movie so much.
What was the second one called? Wasn't it called like
Sister Act 2?
Yeah, no, Sister Act 2.
Oh. Back in the Habit.
Back in the Habit. I was thinking Back in Business. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. But I loved Whoopi Goldberg. And then seeing her in The Color Purple was so awesome because it showed that people aren't just one thing, that they have an incredible range of talents. And her performance in that is just heartbreaking. Yeah. It's so good. And like that's one of those movies that I feel like you can only really see once because it's like Schindler's List. It's a moment that you think about forever. And it's about something else that's happening in society and culture, and it shows a story that is affected by it, that is a part of it, but it makes you think about all of it forever, and then your heart just breaks constantly when you think about it. Yes, that's my number 7. Yep.
Nice. I haven't seen it. I should
someday.
It looks
we have like a huge pile of depressing movies that I think you should watch, and there's like every reason not to see them and every reason to see them because they're talking about something very important, like Amistad. My mom showed me Amistad. I can never watch that ever again because it killed me. It was so hard to watch and it's so good. Okay, what is your number 7?
Michael B. Jordan in Fruitvale Station.
Oh, so good.
So good.
So good.
I could just each just go so good.
So good.
That would sum it up pretty well.
And I'm like jealous because yours is this huge range of actors and different kinds of things, and mine is smaller because you have an active flick charts that you have to draw from, and I'm relying on my dumb post burrito brain.
Hey,
that is definitely not remembering.
Hey, you started this list pre burrito.
Yes, it did. But my brain is basically always a post burrito brain.
Michael B. Jordan is whenever there's a movie coming out and there's an actor in it that's like, a character in it that is like late teens to mid 30s, I always think, I hope Michael B. Jordan gets cast in that. He what else did I see him in
Chronicle?
Yeah, I liked him in that a lot. That was the first thing I saw him in.
Yeah.
The Fruitvale Station. Wait, was he in? I think he was in Friday Night Lights. I think that's actually the first thing I saw him in. Let me see. But
never seen it.
And he was great in that too. Okay, I'll look at that when you're later. Can't do two things at once. I'm not that radio pro like yet.
But I do love. I really feel like any publicity, anything that you have for this show needs to have a photo of how you sit when you're doing this show, because it's like the best thing ever. It's almost like you've turned the rolly chair into like a sofa or a beach. It's really amazing.
Okay. Yeah, he was in Friday Night Lights. That's the first thing I saw him in.
Yeah, Fruitvale Station.
Yeah, Fruitvale Station. He has...
The fact that it didn't win all the awards, like all the awards that have ever been created, was just the worst oversight of a movie that had come out that year in a season that gives out awards for movies that come out in a year, because it was so important. And his he was just
it's just the racially charged murder and destruction of a person's life who obviously did not deserve any of it. Yeah. And they just painted, they didn't go like, this guy's an angel. It was just when he's a person.
He's just a guy
and he's living his life
got
and he's
shot
not
because he was a black man. There was nothing more than that.
Yep. And you cared for that character immediately. Yeah. It was one of those where
he just
cared for him.
And it wasn't like they were trying to like you said, it wasn't like they were trying to make him a perfect person. It was just, he is a human, and they showed him as a human living his life until this point where it ended. And it was just so horrible. Yeah.
And it was one of those
and that's something that actually happened in Oakland, and his family still lives out there, and they are still dealing with the fallout of his loss.
It's a spoiler, but whatever. People know the story. The scene.
And if they don't, they should definitely find out about it.
Well, he does the most... I guess I won't say it.
No, go ahead and say it.
Yeah, because obviously he dies. Yeah. But the scene where he gets shot, they just show a close-up of his face.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the most convincing.
And because you know what happens, because like we talked about the story. We were living in Berkeley at the time, so it was a really big deal. It was a huge conversation when it came out, and like, you want to convince yourself that it's not going to end the way you know it's going to end. And I think that right after they show the close-up of his face, he turns around and he says, "Why?" Like there's something like that where he says, like, why'd you do that? And he's like bleeding out and he's dying, and he's like, what did I do? And he doesn't understand. And to have that moment that has happened countless, you cannot put a number on how many times that's happened in this country, anywhere in the world, people being just violence being committed on them, and like that horrible violence being done to your body. And just, what did I do? I'm laying face down on the ground, handcuffed, and I didn't do anything. And it was horrible.
One more thing to say about that movie. They had like flashbacks. I think that's how they showed things in this past. And so they give you some like there's plenty of character development. And you can see in certain scenes when different things pop up, like when he's like almost like he's threatened to, like someone's threatening to fight him, or if he is meeting up with his daughter or talking to his mom or whatever. They did such a good job of making it go of every, this is, again, I don't want to sound pretentious, but whenever they were able to, sorry, I'm really trying. You could see the reasoning behind every decision he made and how he respond to everything. You go, it's not like they go, in one scene when he was a kid, he fell off his bike, so now he's scared of bikes. It's not like that.
No.
But it's like, you can see, that's this part of him. This is why he's responding that way.
Yeah.
You just see all the different parts of a person.
It's like any story where you, like if you read, I'm forgetting what they're called, but when people pass away in the newspaper,
obituaries.
If you read an obituary, if you read a headline, they distill someone's life to a couple of sentences. So it's like for someone to be shot in a BART station who is a black man and to be killed, handcuffed, you can distill that. Like, depending on if you're racist, depending if you're not, however you phrase it, you can distill it to something very simple, but no one is very simple. Right. And just because he was a man who lived in a different culture than you understand does not mean that he reacted to everything a certain way.
Right.
Or that everything was because of, this culture or this life. It was because of his experiences within and without it. And they showed that in however long that movie was, like an hour and a half, like 2 hours. Like that, I mean, it's just like they showed that and they made you feel for him and they made you want that justice so bad. So that's a very, very good. Yeah. That's a good answer.
That Michael B. Jordan just
incredibly talented.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
What number are we on?
That was my number 7.
Okay. And so my 7 was The Color Purple.
Yeah.
So my 6 is Ava Green from Penny Dreadful.
I thought that'd be on your list.
I thought that show was probably like a lot of the things that I love and look for in fiction. It's just like had all that gothic madness, and the costumes were incredible. The direction was incredible. The cinematography was incredible. It was all really, really good. I loved the story. It completely fell apart in the last season at the very end of it. I hated that, but I felt like the end was just not something, it was very rushed, is what I felt. But there's a specific episode that I'm thinking of. There's a specific, just this chunk of her story that you are peeling back over the 3 seasons of the show. And it's one of the episodes in the middle of season 3, and it's called A Blade of Grass. And it's all flashback when her character is under hypnosis. And she is remembering when she was in the mental institution.
Okay, that's why sometimes I'd watch a little bit while you're watching, and that's why it seemed
really
I was going,
crazy.
Wait, I thought this person was bad. No, I didn't realize there was flashbacks.
And the way that it's directed is very much like a play, because like any play, there's only so much space that you can have in a room in a mental institution, and that's where almost the whole episode takes place, is in her room. You never see outside of it. You see what she sees, and it was just so incredible. And it wasn't only her performance in that episode. It was also Rory Kinnear, who was incredible. But like just the way that scene is written is so amazing. And it like makes me cry every time I see it, because she was incredible as that character, as Vanessa Ives, because like I feel like she put her body through hell and like her mind through hell, because that character was so tortured and agonized. But I mean, it's a scene about somebody who is different. And like if you boil it down from all the devil and all this stuff happening, all the Penny Dreadful stuff, it's a woman who's different in a time that just does not accept that. And she tries, after one point she's broken, and she tries to be what people want her to be, but that's still not enough. And so she's just a woman in a time that won't let her live. And it's really hard to watch, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful episode. So that's mine. What's yours?
Who do you say is more tortured? Her character in that, or the robbers in the Home Alone movies?
Oh, that's actually really hard, because there's like exorcisms and stuff that happen in Penny Dreadful, which are really rough. That's a hard one.
Does she ever get so mad that she has trouble saying actual words? She goes like, does that ever happen?
I'm sure.
All right, cool. That's pretty bad. Did she ever step on a nail?
Isn't there something like on YouTube or somewhere on the internet where there's like an actual, I think he's a doctor who goes through Home Alone, and he's like, probably, they would die because of this. And they should have died like 60 times in that movie. Yep. All right. What's your number 6?
My number 6, I'm going to say 5 and 6 together.
Okay.
Because they're from the same show.
I think that's a very good call.
Both are from Breaking Bad. Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston is number 5. Aaron Paul's 6. Just because Bryan Cranston is in more of the show, and so he gets to show more. Again, Aaron Paul's character, especially at the beginning, is just kind of unlikable. Just he's one of those kind of guys, like he's like a low-time drug dealer, kind of you think he's like a poser. Schmuck. Yeah, kind of a poser, and just like you feel like, I know, I went to school with people like this. and without they didn't just abandon that character at all, but the way they developed it and showed how much that they really were able to show that he wasn't just that. There was so much more to it, and Aaron Paul just the character did a lot of crying, a lot of just being incredibly destroyed and stuff, and then also times the other way where he's really happy and stuff, and so believable without leaving that character. It's the same exact character you feel like from the beginning, but you just see more sides. And again, that show is written and shot amazingly too. So that's Aaron Paul. Great job. And then it was the same kind of thing with Bryan Cranston, except the character. I'm stretching. There was nothing that you like. He did comedy great in it. He was angry. He was scary at times. You'd feel sad for him, and he seemed pathetic at times, and
diabolical,
and he's doing all these horrible things, and you just keep wanting him to clean up his life because you care about the character, even though he's doing all this horrible stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Nice.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So number 5.
Yes, you're number 5.
My number 5 is from Doctor Who. This is Matt Smith, who is the 11th Doctor.
Did he do 3?
I think it was 3 seasons. Yeah. And I loved him. A lot of people didn't really care for his Doctor.
Oh, really?
I loved his Doctor because I like reading the things about the people say who work and write on Doctor who break down in the timeline of the character and in the mythos, if you will, what part of this being each actor is, and like what stage of life or where he is in his life. And Matt Smith was a very young doctor who, like, not only was the actor very young, but he was a doctor who was trying to put away his trauma and put away his anger and have fun and kind of deal with things by completely ignoring things that he should not have been ignoring, but also just approaching all of that stuff from a younger, like a very, very old person pretending that they're much younger, and then making friends with people who are much younger and trying to live life again as if things hadn't happened. And I just thought that was really fun, and I enjoyed going with him.
Was David Tennant the one right before him?
Yes. And he's also on my list.
I think Matt Smith, that's his name? Matt Smith and David Tennant are the two that I've seen the most episodes of.
Yeah, because
I kind of get them mixed up.
Yeah, fair enough. One's Scottish and one isn't, but like whatever.
Sorry.
You wouldn't be able to tell because David Tennant's doing the English accent. But I enjoyed who he was, and like any of the episodes, any of the writing, any of the directing, sometimes there were times where it's like, okay, dial back the hokiness. But overall, I enjoyed his performance.
Nice.
Who's your number 5?
I already did that.
You already did it. Oh my God.
You can do your 4 now.
Number 4, Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders.
He's a really good actor. I like him a lot.
Everything he's in, he's amazing. And he's
the best part, I think, of the new Batman movies.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's just incredible.
Not the new ones anymore.
Right. But the old new ones.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Peaky Blinders on Netflix, I suggest it. I think that it's an amazing period piece. I think that it's an amazing piece for very, very talented actors, because he's not the only amazing actor in that show. Everyone brings something fantastic. Tom Hardy's in it. A bunch of other people whose names I'm totally forgetting, but he's thrilling to watch. And he's basically, it's kind of like Breaking Bad, where you're watching people who are making very complicated life choices and decisions, and the life that they live is not straightforwardly simple. It's very, very complicated, and sometimes they have to be bad people, and sometimes you sympathize with them being bad people. And I cannot wait for more seasons of that show, because that character, Tommy, I can't remember the last
Pickles.
name. Tommy Pickles. But it's incredible. Yeah.
Cillian Murphy's like the poor man Steven Seagal.
Okay. Get out of your own show. This is Let's Make a List with Ariel, and we're going to talk about my list for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I've only seen a few episodes, but I like them. I need to watch more.
Yeah.
That's one that I cannot... I need to actively watch it. One of the reasons is because the accents are tough for me.
It's the Birmingham accent. The Birmingham accent that's very, very low and guttural, and because it's period, it's a lot of lingo that is not culturally ours because it's very English.
We should watch Deadwood, by the way. That reminded me of that because it's a very different show, but I feel like...
Let's just become hermits who live on a mountainside but have access to electricity.
We just need the mountain.
Yeah.
We've got everything else.
Mountain and we just need the money.
Yeah.
Put that on a bumper sticker. Who's yours?
Number 4, Jenny Slate in Obvious Child.
So good.
So
good.
Yeah.
That should be one of your sound effects.
Yeah. Just such a real person. Just all the reactions were so... that is my favorite romantic comedy ever.
And it was so cool that she was the person who played the character throughout its whole life. So there was a short movie, and she was in that short, and then she was in the movie. Yeah.
This one I want to make sure I don't spoil it because I know some listeners who haven't seen it.
It's worth every second.
Her again, the range. Just she seemed. I haven't seen a romantic comedy where I think like the only other movie I can think of romantic comedy where people act as like real people. As this is Return to Me.
Yeah.
Where you just watch it and you like these characters so much, and again, you don't question how they act. You don't go, that's not realistic or anything like that.
Yeah, no,
you don't go, that's annoying.
Feels real.
Yeah, she's able to just be a person.
And what's crazy is every time I look at her face, my grandmother looked exactly like her when she was her age. It's bananas and bizarre. I have a family photo where it's my grandmother in her 20s and she looks exactly like Jenny Slate. So it's kind of weird. It looks like, why do you have a faded picture of Jenny Slate in your house? Weirdo. All right. I jumped on your time. Number 3?
That was my number 4 is Jenny Slate. So you're number 3.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So number 3 is Elizabeth Moss from Top of the Lake, which was directed by Jane Campion, who did The Piano in the 90s. And Jane Campion does movies about women and TV shows because this was a miniseries. And
I don't think I know this.
She usually tells stories about women, and they also usually take place in New Zealand.
Okay. So Elizabeth Moss?
Mm-hmm. And it's a show that I was really obsessed with. So as soon as you see it for a second, you'll recognize what it is.
Elizabeth Moss, is she okay, I could be totally wrong. Is she first in The Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah.
Okay, it is. All right, cool.
Yeah. And I haven't seen Handmaid's Tale, but I'm sure that will rocket right to the top except that'll be so depressing to watch.
Yeah.
But Top of the Lake is a mystery show that takes place in New Zealand, and it's about a detective who goes home to be with family and to kind of sort out her life, and she has to face a lot of things that happened to her in her past, and she kind of like just unravels a lot of stuff that's happening in this town that she grew up in because a child goes missing. And she works for the police, and she kind of like becomes a part of this case, and it becomes part of her, and she has to figure it out. And I think that there are only 7 episodes, and it is really, really good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just amazing, and it's beautiful. Like the cinematography, it just like makes you, it's like Lord of the Rings, so it just makes you want to go to New Zealand and like lay down in the grass and just watch clouds for like 3 days. But I definitely suggest it. I think it's one of my favorite stories ever.
Yes. Nice. Number 3 for me, Tom Hardy in Legend.
Yeah.
Playing the 2 brothers.
So talented.
Yeah.
So good.
The movie is like kind of a regular
like a
of that like
crime boss.
Yeah, kind of biopic-ish. It's based on actual people.
Crime boss.
And he filmed both parts, and so every scene they filmed twice, basically, with him as one character, and they filmed together, the other one put together. And you don't at all. There's never a moment of wait, which brother is that? And the voices are slightly different, and just the way they carry themselves. Tom Hardy is my favorite actor.
He's one of the best actors ever.
Hard, like legend. I mean, Lawless is probably the role that's most fun for me to watch.
I feel like he maybe says 10 words in that movie.
Yeah, just a lot of grunts. And you know
exactly what he's thinking about the whole time.
Bronson, he's amazing. Locke, the one where he's just him
In
on
a
the car
car.
the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. He can play
anything.
Yeah, he's
anything.
My favorite actor.
He's incredible. That's a good one. So number 2?
Yeah.
All right, so my number 2 is Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black.
That's going to show up on my list.
She is, she's like Tom Hardy. She's the female version of Tom Hardy because she, in Orphan Black, plays up to 12 or somewhere around that, like 9 to 12 different characters. And you can tell each individual one. And over the course of the show, you don't even think about her playing all of them, except to talk about it out loud, like, oh my God. But you have to remind yourself that that's not a person.
Yeah.
Or
not a different person.
Well, it's not a different. No,
the character.
The character isn't just one person with different hairstyles.
Right.
They are a full, complete human being that you become attached to, and you have preferences. Like it's just incredible. It's a really good show.
That is coming.
And
up.
we got
I'll talk about
real
a little more
obsessed
too.
about it.
That's coming up. My number 2 is Chris Pratt in Parks and Rec. It's a sporting character, sporting role. My favorite comedic character of anything.
He wasn't supposed to last beyond 2 episodes.
Yep. Oh, he just.
And they wrote him a character because he was so good.
Yep. He's got the same kind of thing with Steve Carell. You just look at his into his eyes or just look at his face, and you can just see this character's brain just trying to comprehend things, and he connects things in the weirdest ways, but he's so positive. And at first he's selfish and stuff, but then he becomes like the most likable character.
Yeah, he becomes
ever.
Really important.
Yeah, and there are a few episodes where you can really you can see him just be sad and beat and just totally deflated, and again just seems so real and not over the top.
Yeah,
like there's one scene in Parks and Rec episode where he starts tearing up because of something where it's just like he's going through a really tough time. He tears up, and it is just like, oh, that's amazing. That is just he does it. It just feels so real, and I that's my favorite TV character of ever. Yep.
All right, so number 1.
Number 1, I'll say mine real quick because it's
I'm gonna do mine really quick
because it's the same.
I don't really have.
I'll say mine first.
Please go ahead. Yes.
My Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah.
That's obvious number 1 for me. For me, that was the most amazing acting I've ever seen.
So talented, and every single time she didn't get an award, huge oversight because every performance that she put in must have drained the life out of her. Yeah. Because like you said with Legend and Tom Hardy, they had to film every scene twice. With her, they probably had to do it a million times.
Yep. And each character was so multi-layered and funny at times, and they had their own sense of humor. They had the moods affected them differently. It was,
and so the writing
amazing.
Combined with her performance was just so good. My number 1, I've already said Doctor Who 2 times. This is the 3rd time, David Tennant from Doctor Who. I never knew that I could love a character as much as when I fell in love with Doctor Who with David Tennant. He 100% was the Doctor. Christopher Eccleston was my first Doctor. David Tennant was my second Doctor. And I don't have a Doctor, but if I did, it would be David Tennant because his story went on for so long. Because he also had a lot of seasons, and I think that he even had 4 Christmas specials or something like that, 3 or 4. So he was there for a long time, and so I spent a lot of time with him performing the story, and I just, I could talk about this forever, and I won't right now. But that's my number 1.
Real quick, I would like to just a second.
Do the thoughts.
I just wanted to say a few of there were a lot that I had that almost made lists, but didn't. Just throw them out real quick. Matt Damon in The Informant. Great, again, subtle. I don't know if subtle, just comedy. Claire Danes in Broke Down Palace.
Claire Danes in anything.
Yeah. Zach Galifianakis, it's kind of a funny story. Al Pacino, Donnie Brasco, that's the first movie where I saw where I was like, oh, I get why everyone loves him now. Rachel McAdams in Spotlight, a small part, but G.A. Perkley, Johnny Depp, and Ed Wood. I have lots. I have a lot, guys. There are a lot. Sigourney Weaver and Alien. A bunch. Okay. We got a few minutes. You ready for some quick this or that? Which one is it?
Okay.
All right. Is it a... Thank you for doing a list.
Thank you.
Is this the thing I'm going to say? Is it a Radiohead song?
Okay. A
movie produced by Roger Corman?
Mm-hmm.
Or 2 words from a random word generator website? So, Radiohead song, Roger Corman, or words from a random word generating website?
Okay, go.
Shadow Dancer.
Word generator.
No, that's Roger Corman. Drain available.
Radiohead.
Random.
Darn.
Melodic flowers.
Radiohead.
Nope, random.
Darn.
Transatlantic drawl.
Radiohead.
That's Radiohead. Yay. Handle edge.
Generator.
Yep. Droid gunner.
Radiohead?
Nope. Roger Corman. Body waves.
Word generator?
No. Roger Corman.
Oh my god.
India rubber.
Oh, come on. Radiohead?
Yep.
Okay.
Marble hate.
Word generator.
Yep. Detailed ruin.
Roger Corman?
No. Word generator. Killer cars.
Roger Corman.
Radiohead. Last one. Future fear. Future fear.
Radiohead.
No.
Roger Corman.
Roger Corman.
No!
You got a few. Yeah, that was a fun one. I was looking at these Radiohead songs. I was like, oh, they seem like random words.
Yes.
And I was like, there we go.
Good job. You're really good at that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you very much for being on the show. It is 4:00. I do not see the host of the next show, so I'm thinking it might not be here today. It looks like. So you can stick around a couple minutes and see. But it looks like this is going to be the end of the broadcast day for us today at KPCA, at kpca.fm. A little shortened post-Thanksgiving day. All right, so yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much, Ariel.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Yeah, thank you, Rob, for being at the studio so we could do the show today.
Woo!
And yeah, remember, if you want to go check out our schedule, new shows added, I think, like pretty much every week. kpca.fm. Look at the schedule. Also, I'd throw us out. We announced the details to our annual The Envelope Please fundraiser, which is every year Oscar night. We show the Oscars and we raise money for KPCA, and we have raffles, and it's a big event it's at the Mystic Theater. We have red carpet. You can dress up fancy. I'll be wearing a tux because myself and Tom Gaffey, the person who runs the Phoenix, the local hero legend. Yeah. I'll be co-hosting with him this year. He's hosted in the past, so this year I'm going to be there with him.
Very cool opportunity. Very cool cause.
Yeah. Yep. So you can help out the station, and you can get tickets. Go to, I think there's the information on pca.tv, or you can come down to the station and pick up tickets when the station is open. So thank you again. It is 4:02 and we gotta go. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.